This afternoon I'm here on Simon Gudgeon's stand with his delightful wife Monique, and we were going to look at the plants on the stand. You don't win a 5-star award at Chelsea without thinking about the horticulture. The R.H.S, being a flower show, are very keen on the planting that has taken place on these sorts of stands. So Monique, we've been chatting a little bit about your garden at home and the wonderful space you have there. Your interest and passion in nature, the insects, the wildlife, as well as the planting, and how that all fits together. How did Simon talk you into doing this here at Chelsea?
Oh, well, actually, I think it was probably the other way around. I had, when I was a tiny thing, years and years ago, got involved with a company that did gardens at Chelsea Flower Show. And so I kind of knew what went into it. And I said to Simon, years ago, we ought to think about doing Chelsea. And it was always one of those things, we will do it eventually.
Yeah.
But the time seemed right. About 2 years ago, we came to see them and talked to them about where we could go. And then last year was our first year.
Yeah.
And that was a real sort of trial by fire, because there's just so much that you have to think about and all the little details. So this year's garden is a culmination of a very, very steep learning curve last year.
And to come on to Main Avenue as well.
Yes,
I mean, that's so prestigious in itself. That really does require a horticultural expert, doesn't it? It does require somebody who's got a belief in the planting as well.
I love the plants. That's my passion.
Yeah.
I create the frame for Simon's sculptures, and luckily my style of gardening is I'm not into lots and lots of flowers. So you'll see on the stand there's maybe a little spotted colour here. For example, there's just one white flower over in this Mediterranean border.
Which looks fantastic, doesn't it, I must say.
It's just a little kind of, it just draws the eye and it just sort of lightens it. So otherwise it could be just a sea of green. And then the lavender next to it will flower next. It'll sort of take over.
You can see the buds just about to pop. A bit more sunshine and that would look really fantastic.
Yeah, we need more Mediterranean sunshine. And then the rosemary below, which is always, these are all evergreen plants as well, so you've always got interest all year round. But the rosemary, not only does it have a wonderful scent when you brush past it, but again, a very such subtle little purpley mauve flower. And so,
and the sweep of that is really nice, especially with your white pebbles underneath, picking out the white flowers from the top. But the flow of the rosemary is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's got that again, that sort of soft, sagey green that you associate with Mediterranean plants. Hot planting, that's right. Designed to reflect the heat of the sun when it's at its strongest.
It is really working now. We've got some hot sun today.
Yes,
it just really feels fantastic.
No, we like a little bit of sunshine at Chelsea.
And then you talked a little bit about sort of flowers and colour and things, and how you do. I mean, the greens are very restful as well. They're very calming and soothing. And with the sound of water on the stand as well around the sculptures, that does relax. It does make you feel very, very content and very settled.
Exactly. I mean, our garden at home, everyone talks about how tranquil and peaceful it is, and that's what a garden should be. And especially when you've got art in the garden as well, you want to be somewhere where it's contemplative and peaceful, so that you can absorb the beauty of it.
Yeah, because you're trying to do several things, aren't you?
Exactly.
And it's got to work well. So, over here, just next to us, you've got a huge sea of thrift.
Yes.
Is it a particular favourite?
I love thrift. It's a childhood memory from when I was a tiny girl going to visit my great granny who lived near Bournemouth. And we always used to obviously go down to the sea and have picnics. And I remember picking these little pink flowers, and they were growing out of the sand and the rock, and I just thought they were so delightful. And we have a very tricky area at home, which is dry and very windblown. And I thought, well, I'll plant some thrift here and see how it does. And it absolutely
They are little pioneers, aren't they, I think, as well. They're such a brave little flower as well, as you say, clinging onto cliffs.
Exactly. And they'll also grow on the salt marshes, and which will get flooded when it's very, very high tide. And they'll put up with that. They're a remarkable plant, but also the bees and insects adore them, which is another very important part of all of my gardening. I want to kind of create a nice valuable habitat. Resource.
And it is really important, especially today. I mean, it's talked about more and more, isn't it? The sustainability, the environmental issues, the threats to the planet. And if you all do a little bit, that can make a bigger difference.
That's right.
You know.
If we all did one thing to help the environment or wildlife,
it would help.
It would
all help.
transform our world.
And then behind pretty flowers, you've got nettles and the whole areas of the garden that are required for sort of caterpillars and the whole life cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got to think about, well, it's not just about feeding the butterflies. You've got to feed what makes the butterfly in the beginning. So yes, leave some nettles, leave some rough areas. They've got to have somewhere to overwinter. Yeah. So nice sort of messy areas, log piles and things like that.
Yeah. Which are really good, aren't they, for all those sorts of things.
So this style I've planted a whole sea of sea thrift.
It is a sea of sea thrift.
And that kind of shows my love of just simple planting.
Yeah,
so, if you're going to make a statement with flowers, just make a simple one with just
one colour, one side of the plant. It really works well. And also, as you said earlier, it sets off the sculpture. So we're not...
perfect frame.
It is a perfect frame for that. Yes. And I really like this point of the week in Chelsea where things are just starting to live in their spaces.
Oh, yes.
So these little sea thrift now are starting to climb over the cliff edge, aren't they? There's a little bit of tumble going on here.
And there's lots of little buds coming up as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Super. Yeah,
so
it does look fantastic.
That's another reason I love this flower. It starts in quite early spring to flower, and it just keeps on all through summer. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Really good.
Fabulous. So over on the far side of the garden, which we probably can't see at the moment,
we've got lots of
woodlandy
visitors.
areas, haven't you really?
That's right. We've got two areas which I've planted up. One is for Simon's beautiful sculpture Celeste, and that has got a wonderful moss wall with lots of Japanese acers and ferns.
So a very moist environment.
Yes, that's right. And we've got a waterfall coming down the back, and then we've got mist spray coming up. So you're in a real sort of lovely, cool, boggy, and really peaceful environment. The sound of running water, again, is a sort of lovely, peaceful.
It is very cooling.